Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra and Kaye, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yule Brenner. And it is the Demetra Kaye show where we are not live, but we will be live later at 5 p.m. Central Time. So I hope that you will all join us then. What we'll talk about, I don't know, because there's a lot to talk about. But today we are going to be talking about an unfortunate case that took place in Florida. Involving 4 young ladies. Some of them are not here due to their actions that they actually recorded on live social media. I think it was Instagram and Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, we'll get into all of that. But I should say the purpose of the Demetra Kaye show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. In the meantime, Donovan, how are you?
I am doing great. Overcast day here in California. People in my neighborhood, I live in the desert, so people in my neighborhood are getting ready.
Overcast days never turn me on, but something about the clouds and her mixed.
So what we do here, living in the desert, you have to get your yard ready because we have triple-digit numbers in the summertime consecutively. So you want to get ahead of the game. So a lot of people are getting their houses ready, their landscapes ready. I've been moving a half a ton of rock landscape because I have desert landscaping because I don't want to cut my grass anymore. So it's been pretty busy. So I've been a pretty busy morning repairing AC that my dog chewed up and all that other stuff. But hey, you guys, welcome to the show. Again, we are not live. We are great to have you here. Thank you so much. Big shout out to all the moderators, not on this one, but even in our lives. You guys do a great job. And I just want to say this, Demetra. We love the trolls. We love the trolls. Keep coming on in. You keep making our algorithm that much bigger. So we thank you guys too as well. But do us a favor, those guys that want to continue to have these great conversations, there's a way that you guys can donate. You can see a scrolling banner at the very bottom there, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all of that great stuff. So you guys can contribute there. Also, don't forget the African Diaspora News Channel app. You could download it on Google Play, Apple Store. There, you could also get the Emancipation Channel specific stories from Phil Scott, Vicki Dillard, Demetra Kaye, videos that aren't always necessarily on YouTube. You'll get them over there. And then what's going on around the African diaspora. How many of you guys know recently a Kenyan police officer that was in Haiti to do the peacekeeping in Haiti was killed? So now they are questioning, is Kenyan people are equipped? And I believe that it's alleged that with U.S. aid being shut down, that they were counting on the United States to have basically financially support these endeavors. And of course, now here we are. You've got this Kenyan police force in Haiti that does not have the financial backing to be there. So you got to pay attention to that. How did I know about that? African Diaspora News Channel. So you could also sign up on YouTube. You can subscribe, become a member. Hit that like on your way in, you guys. That helps the algorithm as well. But we have a lot to talk about. I did see something on these young ladies, and very interesting. Also, don't forget Black Expo in Ohio. You can see Demetra Kaye and Phil Scott and Vicki Dillard. They're all going to be there doing a symposium. You also see the great vocalist, Tidra Moses. Not only is she a vocalist, she is a writer, and she has written for some of the top neo soul artists of the late 90s, early 2000s. And Marsha Ambrosia from what's the name of the group? I forgot.
All you gotta do is say yes.
Flowetry, yes. And and she will be there. Well, I have her album. I don't know why I keep forgetting what group she comes from. So don't forget to check that out. So Demetra, this is it's a cautionary tale, but at the same time, my God, ladies, Jesus. Let's get into it.
So, as I said, it's an unfortunate case that happened in Florida over the weekend. Now, the video I'm going to show you, I took out the sound because it was music on there, and there was a lot of, cussing and things like that. So it wouldn't be appropriate for this platform or any platform for that matter. But I want to show it to you as I am, reading to you the details of what happened. So I'm going to put this up as I So again, there's no sound, okay? And I want to say RIP to the ladies that are passed. As you can see there, it shows the condition of, you know, the ones that were in the car. So one is still alive. So basically, it says tragedy in Florida after a group of friends went live while drinking and driving at 116 miles an hour. And it did illustrate that on the dash for the video that I saw. It says Florida Highway Patrol says their SUV failed to turn, struck a pole, and flipped multiple times, ejecting all four women from the vehicle. None were wearing seatbelts. Shakayla Mathis, Aquavia Pugh, Kanisha Lewis, they were killed, as you can see there. And let's see here. Mariah Belcher remains in critical condition. Footage shows the group speeding, drinking, and vibing inside the car. Unaware these will be their final moments before the deadly crash. Now they were live, so as you can see there, looks like, I don't know if it was a story or whatever it was, but one of the girls, so which one is it? Octavia, I guess that's how you say her name. It looks like it was her live, that was going there. So they are gone, except for one who was in critical condition. So, Donovan, the question that I have for you, and hopefully y'all can see unfortunately, there's the vehicle there. It sounds like they were in a Jeep Cherokee or something like that. Again, none of them wear seatbelts. They were drinking Hennessy with some of it, Patron. The driver was actually turning Patron up, and no hands on the wheel. She had her phone in her hand and Patron in the other. And they, like they said, they was vibing and dancing and singing to the music and, whatever, And because when I first heard they were going 116 miles, I was like, damn, that's kind of fast. But then I did see it on the dashboard. They were at 116 miles an hour. And the highway, as you can see, was just a long stretch. So I guess when they came to the turn, for obvious reasons, they didn't make it. So Donovan, and I'm gonna move this, you guys. The question that I have for you is, what is going on? And I know that's a very blanketed question. It's very loaded, but what do we have here? What's going on?
Sweet Jesus, come. Anyway, I'm not even gonna go there because it's really not a laughing matter. Number one, Jeeps are top heavy, so to even drive at that speed and expect to turn, you're gonna tumble. You're gonna tumble because Jeeps are top heavy versus whatever. What is going on is the devil is on the rampage. Like I said, I don't care if you believe it or not, all for the Bible to be true, all of these things are supposed to be taking place and happening. Children versus the parents, this, that. What's up is down, down is up. Modern Sodom and Gomorrah, right? But speaking specifically to our community, lunacy at its finest and craziness at its finest. This is what happens to a people when you want them to destroy themselves. Because again, you can't blame a white man for what these girls, what happened to these young ladies here. This was something that was done to them because, number one, there is no shame in the community anymore. There is no policing of the community anymore. There is no respect in the community anymore. Young ladies, some of them I saw that were tatted up. They've got their hair hats on. Not that that matters, but what I'm saying is when you have a group of people that feel, and I can't speak of how they feel because I'm not a savant. I can't speak of how they feel because I can't get into their minds. But I can only imagine where it's every day is you're struggling. Look at the songs that some of these kids listen to. The song is always talking about struggle, right? And in our community, there is a lot of struggle that goes on, especially for the single moms and the single dads, or not the single dads, but the dads that have lost their minds because they're doing, stupid stuff. And I'm going to say this. Sometimes I'll look when I'm walking in the park and I'll see a young lady, and sometimes I'll go in a conversation with her. And the kids are just out of their minds. They have no hope for tomorrow. They're just living one day at a time. There is no future that they see. And I really do blame that on the elders in the community, because the elders, myself included, we are not fighting strong enough to give these kids options to keep them busy. What's that saying? A idle mind is the devil's playground. If these kids had, and I'm not saying you can't have fun. We had fun, Demetra, but we also had jobs to do the next day and all that other, you know what I mean? And I'm like I said, I don't know their situation, but I can say this from being a political activist and somebody who is aware of what's going on. Our community has been marginalized in such a manner that we can't get decent jobs. We can have all the degrees. The worst of the worst has affected us. Now, think about that as a young person. I said this on the show several times. We've got young people that won't even be able to buy the American dream. They can rent it. I could only imagine what these girls are like. To hell with it. Hey, I'm just driving. It don't matter if I'm here today or if I'm here tomorrow. And I hear that from a lot of young people, because the elder people, ourselves included, we are not fighting for them. 30 years from now, it's going to be too late for them to stand up so that they can get the American dream. I'm going to be in my 80s. You're going to be in your 30s. And so on, so on, so forth. So I can only imagine, but what I'm seeing more and more in our community, Kamala Harris even said it. Oh, I'm going to give you black folks weed and stuff like that. Solving, these things that make us go crazy, because it ain't the weed. It ain't the Bob Marley good stuff weed back in the 70s. This stuff is laced with all kinds of craziness. So I'm seeing more and more of our community being crushed with poverty, homelessness, alcoholism, and drugism. And I can only, and hoism. Let me say that too. Because I could only imagine what these young people are feeling of no hope, the apathy of no hope. And from what I saw in that video, 3 young, beautiful ladies with a future that are just driving down the road. What's that song? A highway to hell. And they're not even worried about it. You're taking your hands off the wheel at 116 miles and hitting the dip. Something is, there's more to it than what we're actually seeing. And to me, when somebody self-medicates like that, I've had a drink or two, but I didn't get drunk. But you see what I'm saying? There's something more to it when they're in that much pain.
Well, I want to say off the rip, you are far too kind, sir. From my vantage point, I should say those young ladies were between the ages of 26 and 32. So they're young. My daughter's 32. But I'm going to say this. It's lunacy, it's delusion, it's immaturity, it's I guess to believe that you are invincible. This doesn't apply to me, because Donovan, as long as you and I have been on the earth, and you've been here a lot longer than me, we've heard that you should not be drinking and driving. We've seen ads and all kind of stuff. I remember on my senior year, they had a whole little presentation. We were going to lunch, and we didn't know it was staged at the time, but it was I guess Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Students Against Drinking and Driving. They staged an accident outside of the school. So we're leaving, and it was students that were like the popular students. We knew them, and they're strewn out all up in the street as if they were drinking and driving, had the beer cans and stuff. So we thought it was real. So everybody's crying. Then, of course, they said it wasn't, after we all went back to class and they went over the PA system.
Now you guys are traumatized for the rest of your life, but go ahead.
But the idea was that's what it actually feels like to know somebody who died due to drinking and driving, right? Now, I want to also say there was people in my class, maybe 2 weeks after the graduation, the popular kids. One of them I was really good friends with. They all got in a car accident. They were drinking and driving and died, gone, right? So I say all that to say that none of this is new. You know what happens if you drink and drive and you lose control of the wheel. you know? And it's like, what else? I can't blame anybody else but them. That's a firm decision. Not, and I can't even see this, but it wasn't like they came from a bar and they were, I'm all right. They were in the car with bottles of alcohol, just tossing it up there. And then they were so haughty with it. They were online, like, look at us. We're drinking the Patron and the Hennessy. And it's like, you don't know who's watching. I don't know if they had any children. I don't know if they did or not. But you got people watching you act like fools. And I'm not trying to disparage the dead. Don't get me wrong in that. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's idiocy, if that's even a word. It's there's no excuse for that, And so when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, how do you avoid something that's a firm decision on behalf of the people that are doing it? It's a firm decision for you to go to the liquor store. Yeah, I said liquor store. Decide that you were going to get in a brand new Jeep, 2024, brand new, with 3 of your homegirls, turn up bottles at 3 a.m, because that's what time it was, and speed down a highway at 116, and you had the wherewithal rather to go live. You know what I mean? So at what point, and it's 4 of you, okay? Usually it's one person, maybe 2, that's an idiot. But 4 of y'all are idiots. One person didn't say, no, we ain't gonna be drinking and driving. You got me messed up, sis. Nobody. All of y'all got in the car and thought that was a great idea. So we have to start putting the blame where the blame is due. The blame is due on the person or the people who knew it was wrong, and you did it anyway. And the driver's gone, 2 other people are gone, and 1 other person is in critical condition. But I would also argue you were already in critical condition mentally when you decided to do that. Donovan?
I was trying to go the nice and easy route because it's already a tragedy. And I'm very famous.
It's a tragedy if we lie to kick it.
Yeah, no. And I know on this show, whenever I point out the disparaging things that our females are doing within the community, who are you to talk to? You let the, whatever. So I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I can in regards to that. And Demetra, I've said this all the time. When it comes to accountability, that's a woman's kryptonite. And it is in the modern age. The modern woman, these younger girls, they are taught to not be accountable to anything that they do. Oh, I'm a Black woman. You can't tell a Black woman anything in regards to her decision making and what she does, because again, men are trash. We're this, we're that, we're this, right? But here's a prime example of the irresponsibility. And I will say that, and we all know, like I said, I'm glad you brought that up. We are taught from day one, drinking and driving is a no-no, and it's almost second. Now, when we were coming up, it wasn't really a law that you had to seatbelt yourself up. So it wasn't really normal yet. Now, when I get into a car, like you get into a car, Demetra, and most people get in a car, putting on a seatbelt is second nature. It's just part of getting in the car.
How on your driver's test, you will fail if you start the car without putting your seatbelt on. Exactly. They'll be like, "Man, ain't no need to go nowhere."
Right, exactly. So these young people who jumped in this car, these young girls that jumped in, women, whatever you want to call them, they jumped into this car and driving recklessly, because again, I have yet, other than being in Germany on the Autobahn, seen any sign where you can go 116, 20 miles in the United States. I know up in Montana, you can go like 75, on the straightaway. But, 3 a.m, and you're turning up. See, that the glorification of city girl life, this is where it's gotten us. Again, I know, Demetra, you laugh a lot of stuff that I say because it's, because it is lunacy. But I'm going to continue to say this. And you guys that have watched the show, we keep referencing Bassinet in Houston. What is Bassinet known for? It was one of the main blades. Here where Demetra and I are from, University. If I tell Demetra University, she's going to smile. Everybody knows what University used to be. This is the problem in our community. We know these young girls have glamorized sex work. Sex work is now something glamorous, nothing to be ashamed of. But one thing we should be ashamed of is drinking and driving. You're in a vehicle that can kill somebody and kill people in the vehicle as well as people outside the vehicle. For these girls, I'm not saying they would have survived. All of them would have survived. But for all of them to be ejected out of the vehicle and they're recording it, unbelievable. I mean, you have got to be out of your mind, and you can't blame it on the alcohol. You can't. The alcohol is a symptom of the problem, but the decision to continually drink and drink and drink to where you are basically out of your, there's one thing, okay, wait. There's one thing I will not drink. I will not drink tequila. Tequila is the one thing I won't drink because it just, and Crown Royal. I stopped drinking Crown Royal years ago because, quick story. I was getting ready to move to Florida, and me and my buddies brought up some Crown Royal to celebrate, right? Because I got a promotion, and I was going to move to Florida, and I was drinking Crown Royal all day. We were just hitting it, right? Now my friend's bigger than me, and I'm a small guy, and I was drink for drink. We get to the celebration in Las Vegas to where we're supposed to go. I don't even remember it, Demetra. All I know is I showed up, I gave the person my ID, and then I went black. And everybody, if it wasn't for people that had pictures and video of me entering and, and throwing up crazily at the party, I would call every one of those people a liar. And because of that incident of me, blacked out, for that time, I never drunk. I barely drink now, but I refuse to drink like that ever again, because it is a conscious decision that you're going to continue to drink and drink and drink. And that day, I continued to drink and drink and drink. I didn't drive, but the fact of the matter is, think about it. I cannot remember anything that I did for about 4 hours, and people had video of it. So we have to make better decisions. And it's unfortunate that these young ladies that are gone, prayers to their families. But again, we know what kind of people that we know. And it's just unfortunate that, to me, it's almost like a death wish. It's almost like they had a death wish. If you look at that video, it's like they had a death wish.
And yeah, and I was kind of looking to see if I can learn more about them, if they had any children or anything like that. I'll take it a step further. It's with this generation too, you can't say nothing to them. They know everything. I know what I'm saying, period. And you can't say nothing to them. They can't take advice. But I always say this: why can't they take advice? Is because we haven't taught them to take advice. These parents, and I say this all the time, I don't care, y'all can fight me, you can fight your mama, it don't matter. You probably lose either way. But this is probably one of the worst generations of parents ever. And they were taught by our generation. Let's just keep it a buck. Those ladies were my daughter's age. So
no, I disagree. Because our generation did not raise our kids. Our mamas and daddies did, because we went to continue to party.
It's still a failure. Okay. Whether we raised them or not, it's still a failure. We have raised a generation that we're afraid of. When I say we, I mean y'all, because I'm not afraid of no kids, okay? But, this generation of parents are afraid of their children. I can't say nothing to her, because if I say something to her, she going to get mad. I don't give a damn if you get mad. It's still going to be said. See, that's the kind of energy we have to have. And that's the energy our older generations have with us. Girl, I don't care if you like it. Well, I came from a generation, so they told you if you was fat. Now, you might not have been fat, but in their eyes, you wasn't streamlined. That's what I would hear. You need to be streamlined.
Where you slip. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was like, well, it sucks, but what am I going to do? I ain't going to fight my grandma. I ain't going to talk back to my grandma, or whatever the case is, but you can't say nothing to this generation at all. And so I don't know if they had children or not, but now the children don't got a mama, or whatever the case is, but we have to really examine that. Why have we raised a generation of just idiots? And forgive my harshness, they are. You can't say nothing to them. You know, you seeing all these videos in places where people fighting because they have no coping skill, no emotional intelligence, no nothing outside of what I want. If it ain't what I want, then you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy. Don't say nothing to me. I know. And I'm saying you best to be quiet, fine. You know, and that's and they talking to their mamas and daddies like that. You know what I mean? So why have we raised a generation of people we cannot correct? Like I said, my daughter's 32. She's a fully grown woman, but she listens to her mama. We don't have those kind of tell me what to say. You can't tell me what to, because I didn't raise her like that. And my mom didn't raise me like that. My mom could correct me, and I'm not saying I always liked it. I didn't always like it. My dad is 81 years old, and he could correct me. Do I always like it, even as I'm about to be 54? No, I don't always like it. But that's my daddy, and that was my mama, RIP. And if they can't say nothing to me, who can? Now, with these young ladies, I don't think it was the will or desire of their parents for them to be out there, you know, doing what they're doing and not having to plan for funerals. I would want to think, since they're probably our age, that they tried to speak to them. Hey, you know, I'm sure they imparted that on them. Don't be drinking and driving. Don't be doing silly stuff, blah, blah, blah. First of all, yeah, it's 3:00 in the morning. What is y'all doing out type of thing? You know, so that's the question. Why can't we say anything to them? And how is it that they're such idiots? Nah, they don't say that with love, but they are.
Can I answer a question with the question? And I'm going to answer it with this. Would you agree, because everything that you described was traits of women, emotional, feminism. So would you agree that feminism has helped destroy the core of, without having the father, and I know the father should be there, but without having the father in the home, has directly affected our boys and our girls within the community? Would you agree with that?
I think that's a loaded question. Yes, on the surface, I think, and to be correct, statistically speaking, the black man, a father, is more involved in his life of his children than any man in America. So that kind of don't jive with me. Yeah, he's not directly in the home, but there's a lot of men that's directly in the home with their family and ain't no earthly good, ain't taught their children nothing they can use, right? So I don't know about that. But whether your mom and daddy was never in your life as a grown person, you know god dang well it's wrong to be drinking and driving, you know. So at some point you can't put that on them, but I get what you're saying. But there's a generation of boys, young men, you know, they call them YNs. They be crashing out all the time. You can't say nothing to them and this, that, and the other. Some of them, yes, they have very feminine traits. Because a lot of times their mom, you know, babyfies them. I was gonna say another word, but it's not ladylike. Babyfies them. And the other portion of that is the fathers are not around. And a lot of that is, yeah, the woman can be cantankerous and hard to deal with. And a lot of that is the man is like, well, she ran me away. And I say, you a sucker, because how can she run you away from your children? You should fight that broad tooth and nail over your seed. See, you didn't really want to do that, right? So yeah, you need to bring, not because you can have two parents there, but they could be two bad parents, two negative parents. They have to be two well-rounded as much as they can, good parents, so they can impart something good into the children.
Right. Well, the bottom line is you need both parents there, you know, in some capacity. But unfortunately, we've raised now 3 generations going strong of young people being raised by women. And when you're raised predominantly by women, you will get traits of women, be it your man, you're a woman, whatever those traits are, whatever the deal is. Again, we are in agreement that you can't tell these kids nothing. It's the same thing as when you're dealing with women, the modern woman. You can't tell them nothing. Back in the day, in our parents' day, in our grandparents' day, yeah, you could say, hey, Glaudine, you know, where's your slip at? You know, you couldn't, you know, just, and where I'm going with that is Felicia Rashad was recently on the Breakfast Club. Now, she didn't admonish anybody. She wasn't disrespectful to anybody. She just made a observation of what she's seen comparatively, right? If you go to that show and look at the comments, the women are coming after the queen, Felicia Rashad, because she was pointing out the mere fact that the way the girls dress today is is not how they dressed back in the day, and it's more of a, you know where I'm going with that, what she big time. I can't really paraphrase it, but that's what I'm saying. The mentality of our young people, where are they getting that from, to where you can't correct, you can't give your opinion, you can't, any kind of criticism, you can't do, and they will not be shamed. We've got to bring shame back into the community, because to me, a hit dog hollered. Felicia Rashad didn't call out anybody specifically. She just said, when you go to these HBCUs, how the girls are dressing, she goes, I'm just in shock, whatever she said. It was, basically, but she wasn't admonishing anybody. She's just saying, hey, what man wants to wife a woman that looks like she just got off the pole, whatever the deal is. So I do think that I do think that is a big issue with our community, where our mothers have lost the art of teaching the children. They've lost the art, and I get it, because they have to go out there and work, whatever. And this is what I don't understand. If women want to keep the children, but yet you want to be a modern woman and you want to work, it's, how can you spend time with the quality time with your children, and if you're working 12 hours a day? That's what I don't understand. That's why I think it's so important to bring back the family structure of having both men and women together. Even if you're not together physically in a home, have some kind of structure where you're not using the children as hostages, and, oh, I'm just going to get more money because I got the child, and I'm just going to get the child because it's better for me. If you're a modern woman and your career set, give the child to the father if the father is a better option.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I saw the criticism for Felicia Rashad, and whether she was shaming them or not, she's 76 years old. She has been there and done that. She is a matriarch of the community at this point, and she should be able to administer criticism. And it was constructive, it was loving, but she should be able to administer some shame without people coming unglued. I used to always hear that when the rock is thrown into the crowd, the one that hollers is the one that got hit. So if you're a woman and you took any offense to what she said in regards to putting some clothes on, then she's talking about you. And she's also talking to the women that cannot be corrected, because like she said, why are you even on a school campus like that? She said, I feel sorry for the male professors, because the minute he look at him the wrong way, they're going to be talking about he was looking at me and this, that, the other. So she should be able to correct. See, because back in the day, the elderly women, they were the pillar of the community, to where they could say something to you. Gal, go and put some clothes on. Oh, yes, ma'am. But now, who you talking to, B? You don't be talking to me like that. I wear what I want to wear. You see what I'm saying? And I hated that she even had to preface that with, oh, I'm not, I'm not saying anything particular, because she already knew that what she was saying was going to get her some backlash, and it shouldn't have got her any backlash, because one thing, you shouldn't have to say that to nobody. Back in the day, and I say this all the time to my daughter, I said, believe it or not, there was a neighborhood 304. Now you got to find a good woman in the neighborhood. Everybody knew who the 304 was in the neighborhood. And I said, and believe it or not, too, dudes wouldn't claim her. Yeah, they would hop up and down on her in private, but I wasn't messing with her. Nah, she nasty. But 5 minutes ago, they was all up in the bushes with her, But the point that I'm making is, it was shame to that. Now, I won't say every woman is that, but there's more 304s than there used to be. Now, listen, maybe there were more 304s back then, but even a 304 knew that I had to present as a lady in public. See, I didn't tell you all that was going on in my boudoir, who was coming back there, Deacon Jones and Mr. Johnson. Y'all didn't know all of that. Yeah, my skirt might have been a little too tight in the public square, but you didn't know what I was doing, because I didn't tell you, because it wasn't your business. Now, in today's time, women get all up on the public square, the social media, whatever, and they do all kind of things that it would never even be. I'm 54 almost, okay? Things that wouldn't even be heard of when I was coming up, girls just didn't do. There was shame in being the neighborhood hussy. There was shame in that. No, I didn't mess with him. Now they lying on me. Now, girl, so what? And did. I sure did. All of them. And I did, and they daddy too. So We have got to really examine why are we here in society. Now, I'll give you another story. Donovan, you know my daughter, you've known her most of her life. Okay? People always say to me, and you know, Deanna doesn't look like she's 32. She looks in her teens. She looks very young. But do you know, I often have people say, wow, she looks young. Maybe she needs to do this and that and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, see, back in the day, the girl that dressed like she has some sense was considered to be the most desirable. Now, listen, I'm not crazy. I know a man like a little red lipstick and a little cleavage here and there, just a little bit though. Okay, you ain't got to see every little bit. But back then, women who dressed modestly and was well spoken and all that, I thought that was the catch. Not a woman that's out there with two cotton balls and a band-aid on. That's what you, I guess, got to do to hook a man nowadays. But as my grandmother told my auntie years ago, if you use meat to catch a man, you're going to wind up with a dog. And that still applies. So I've raised my daughter to be modest. She didn't see her mama running around with everything zhugged up the wazoo and all. Be modest. Because do you really want a man who wants you because all your stuff is hanging loose and all? Do you really want a man like that? Because what happens when you age? Then he's like, oh, baby, everything went down south. Let me trade you in because he was only with you for how you look. Now, listen, I'm not saying we shouldn't look good as much as we can, but cover up because that's for you and your man. That ain't for everybody else. Donovan?
Yeah, I think you brought up Deanna. That brings up a great story. I remember where were we at in the Seychelles or someplace where we were at, and they thought that she and I were together. You were the mother-in-law.
Because I was acting mature. Donovan was, I'm from America. Do you know who I am?
Yes.
And the dude was like, I don't give a damn.
But my point was, Deanna and I both look young and stuff, being an older dude with a young hot thing, whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, yeah, you really hit a lot of great points in regards to what is going on in the world. But see, I take great relief knowing that Jesus is around the corner. And I'm not I'm not a religious person in the aspect, but I do know some Bible, as born as a Catholic. And the people that see the signs are going to prepare, right? Prepare, because the Bible says, here are the signs that you're going to know Jesus is around the corner. And if you don't see that, you're going to be crashing out like there's no tomorrow, right? Yeah, people, buying homes and not saving money, not saving their water. You see all the signs out here and nobody's preparing. And so for me, I take great pleasure in knowing that Jesus is around the corner. When I see women out here, young women that want to be in sex work, and that's something to be respected. And women are with women, men are with men, transgender, politicians just stealing the money, pastors, close the door. I said close the door. Close the doors, okay? When you see pastors that are doing what they're doing, these were all the signs that were predicted 3,000, 2,000 something years ago. So I take pleasure in the fact that Jesus is not far removed, because it's going to take Jesus to solve all of these problems, because man is not going to do it. And again, I have prayer and I have condolences for those young people. However, like you said, it was a conscious decision for them to do what they're doing. And what's that? F around and find out. There it is.
Yeah. And there's just so much knowledge out there to where people shouldn't be having an FAFO anymore. If you drink and drive, that you could potentially kill you. Another thing is, forget, okay, if you want to do that, great, yourself. But what about somebody else who was just out there doing what they were supposed to be doing? And because you're an idiot, you ran into them and, now their family is mourning and grieving, or worse, as my brother says, sometimes when people don't die, they end up being a quadriplegic, or they can't move and they're, on a ventilator or something for the rest of their life. That's a living death. And I'm not being morbid or anything like that, but in some cases it's worse, because somebody has left to take care of them when they before they left the house, they were going out to go to the grocery store, and then the four idiots was driving down the road or whatever, drinking and laughing and on you on the phone, you're drinking and driving. It's like you got all these things that you ain't supposed to be doing going on. So yeah, we're at a crossroads. I don't know about Jesus coming back just yet. I got a lot of things I need to be doing. But I get where you're going with it, because it's just hell in a handbasket already. It's bizarro world. Everything's upside down. Things that were not acceptable back then are everyday normal now. And people are mad because you're like, I'm sorry. I hate to keep saying I'm from the old school, more traditional. I don't really cut for that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're seeing society just completely come unglued. And I always say, get your kids, get your children. I don't care if they're old, they're young. Get your children out the street. Sit down with your children and say, hey, knock it off. Like I said, that's the value of having a good mom. And I had a good mom. We didn't always get along or agree or whatever, but my mom she could correct me. She could tell me, hey, you need to do A, B, C, and D, straighten up. I always tell y'all the story about when I had my daughter. Me and her father, we did fight. We were young. That's what young people do, right? And you just stick together, you fight, you argue about everything. And my mom told me, she said, stop arguing with him about custody of the child, of your daughter. She said, no matter how much time you spend with him and how much time he spends with her, she's always going to be 100% both of your daughter. And when she said that to me, I said, you know what, you're right. Now, on the other hand, I could have had a mom was like, forget that. He don't be, that's our child. That's your baby. And I could have had a mom like that. And I could have been, yeah, mom, you're right. And I could have been giving him the blues over foolishness, right? But I had a good mom with some wisdom. And she said, hey, it's going to come some times when you want to go do something. Let it, I said, yeah, you're right. Now, mind you, I'm 21 when I had my daughter. So I didn't, but that's what it means to have a mentor, a mother. That's why I always say you don't finish raising your children when they're 18. You raise your children, honestly, until one of y'all leave. Preferably you go before the kids, right? It's an ongoing job. It's not, oh, you're 18, you go out there and you crash and burn in the world because I don't care about you anymore. My mom, she was like, knock off the foolishness. Knock it off. You're going to make, she says, because when you and her father fight, you're ruining your daughter. Y'all, you want to screw over each other? Great. But to screw over your daughter is wrong. And when she said that to me, I was like, she's right. And it made things a little easier. It didn't get easier right away, but it took the fight out of me because for whatever reason, I just thought, this is my daughter. I need to be fighting for her. You can't. And he thought the same thing. And we were just butting heads. But then when I let go of the tug of war, if you will, then things got a lot easier. And it took out his steam in the fight as well. But that came from my mama. That came from my mama telling me it ain't that serious. Figure out a way to get along. But a lot of these girls and men nowadays, they ain't got mamas like that. They mamas telling them, you don't forget him. You don't get him for all he got. I don't know if you saw that case. The basketball player, Anthony Edwards, I think his name is, where he told the judge, I want to pay all, I don't know if it's 26 years, all up front for the child support and the new baby, because I guess she was trying to get it for a whole bunch of money. I think she was trying to have it in California, but the judge was like, no, we don't have jurisdiction here. Go wherever it is. Because, in California, you get a bag off of a dude with child support. And so, of course, there's a lot of conversation around it. Oh, well, that's wrong. He don't want to be involved. And it's like they can mandate he pay child support, but they cannot mandate he's in the life of the child. Also sounds like the girl is a lot older than him as well. So it's like, where was your mama at? Or did you have the type of mamas like, girl, yeah, you need to get out there and get these dudes, whatever. Because my mom would have been like, girl, is you crazy? Don't be out here trying to, first of all, he's too young for you. Second of all, what are you doing with him? And you trying to get a bag for what? You going to bring a baby into the world to get a bag? No. See what I'm saying?
Go get a job. Why you got to get a baby to go get it, to go get it? If you want to make that kind of money, you can make that kind of money in the stock market, whatever. Go get a job. But I've just seen so much apathy within our community, especially with these young people. They don't feel, because let's just be real about this, Demetra. They told us one of the biggest lies that I have ever heard. But, our parents only knew what they knew, because in their day, it was true. You get a college degree, you're going to get a better job. We get a college degree. That ain't the case. That's not the case. So here we are with all these degrees and we can't get no jobs. And yet we tell our children to do, basically what we're taught, because you're taught how you pass it down, to get all this debt, and then you can't get a job. So if you can't buy the American dream, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to do this. And again, when you're a Black person and you're at the bottom of the economic scale, how is this going to happen? You love this dude, but I can't look at these shows that are out here, Demetra. Kendra G show. He's got to make 6 figures. Huh? The average Black man in the United States makes $43,000. Where in the world are these women coming up with these numbers? That shows you the mental illness that is going within our community. It's unrealistic. They have these ladies, stop watching Basketball Wives and all these love and hip hop shows. It's not real, especially you fools in Atlanta. Stop it. I've been to Atlanta. A lot of people have been to Atlanta. Y'all Negroes don't own anything in Atlanta. If you look at that land, that skyscraping, the skyline, all of those big buildings are not owned by Black people. So stop it. Stop it. The average Black person makes $43,000. But yet, look at what comes out of these young girls' mouths. A man should be proud to take care of my children. Why would a man want to take care of another man's child? That's ridiculous. A man should take care of my upkeep. So now you're putting all of this burden. So what do you guys do? If you know what I mean, it's just unrealistic. And to me, it's mental illness. And the main purveyor of mental illness is femininity. I put a video up and I found it of men versus women in an island survival scenario. And I sent it to you, Demetra. And even some of my aunts were like, that's true. Women cannot survive without men, and men cannot survive without women. We all have a role to play. We got to be realistic. Mental illness, it's unreal. It's unreal. They legalize weed. Demetra, I was so insulted when Kamala Harris on her Black plan that she threw up at the last minute, and she threw in the weed thing like that's all we're about. Notice she didn't say anything about prison reform and pardons for people convicted of weed crimes in the 90s. But she gonna put up weed like that's what Black people are all about and all this other. It's just insulting. And I just think that mental illness within our community and apathy, the biggest thing is apathy in our community. It ain't going to get no better. Other groups are coming here, getting all money and resources. I mean, if I was a young person and I'm seeing this in real time, and I got Uncle Rufus over here, a Vietnam vet on the street. My mom is living in Section 8 housing and, whatever. And I'm seeing illegal migrants getting money, cards, and everything. I would be done too. I'd be like, what does it matter? Apathy, I think, is the biggest thing that hurts our community.
Yeah, and then even if, somebody imposes a weed law, you don't have to smoke it. You don't have to partake in that, you can always say no. But that's where the common sense comes in. And I always say, and I said this to somebody the other day, we got to ask ourselves, what type of children are we trying to raise? And then what type of planet are we trying to ultimately have? At the rate we're going now, this planet is going up in smoke. And I don't even like to say it to be gloom, or doom type of way, but it just is. And I tell my daughter, and I tell you all the time, I know y'all think I'd be joking, but I don't really like to go outside much. If I do, I'm a ghost. I'm strategic in where I go. I'm just not one of those people just be hanging out and in bars and all that. I'm strategic in where I go because there's a lot of madness out there. Even on the road here in Houston, I don't know why. Road rage is at an all-time high. I mean, people get mad over nothing, And so it's a lot of madness. And as I always say with my platform is really to teach emotional intelligence, coping skills, logic, be logic, you know, be logical rather. And to me, when I see stuff like the story, I'm like, well, it would have taken me a lot of thought process to say drinking and driving don't go together, or in public relations, we have a term foreseeability. What would happen if I drink and drive? Could I kill somebody? Could I kill me? Yeah, those are very high probabilities. Okay, then I probably won't do it. I'll get into an Uber or whatever it is. But something tells me those young ladies sought out to do that. Who gonna check me, boo? Can't nobody say nothing to me, or whatever the case is. And so it's a sad situation. And maybe it's just because I'm getting older. I don't have a lot of sympathy for foolishness no more. When I was younger, I might have said this is terrible. It's terrible. Don't get me wrong, it is terrible. Don't mistake me, that's terrible. But I'm my daughter, and Donovan has heard her say this a lot. A lot of times, just selective. Just I lost the term. What is it, Donovan? She always says
social construct.
No, not that term. It's the other one. Just was on the tip of my brain. It's where you kind of weed yourself out. What's the term?
Selection?
Huh?
Natural selection?
Is it natural selection? I think it is natural selection. Yeah, I think that's the term. Whatever it is, I'll find it in just a second. But yeah, so basically, yeah, natural selection. It's you do silly stuff. Well, you're selecting your way out of here. You're not gonna go, not natural causes, but you are saying, okay, I'm gonna be an idiot and I'm gonna go out there and drink and drive, and I'm ridding myself of the planet, I'm ridding the planet of myself. So I don't feel sorry for people like that. I don't feel sorry for people who want to leap off the Empire State Building with a parachute. I don't feel sorry for them type of people. Because it's like, you're engaging in risky behavior. And then the crazy part is this, Donovan, I'm quite sure some of those young ladies didn't even have life insurance. And so now their family is going to have to do a GoFundMe, a fish fry.
I was going to bring that up. I can almost guarantee insurance was the last thing on their minds, even because they're young and they're going to live forever.
And the one that did live, for those of y'all don't know, one that did live, if she survives, because it says she's in critical condition, she gets through all of this and she tries to get life insurance, they're going to say, did you ever have any surgeries? Yeah, I had some surgery. What was it for? Oh, it was in a car accident. We was all drinking to drive and da-da-da. Life insurance company going to be like, oh, no, you a risk, boo. You like to engage in risky behavior, so we're going to decline it. And car insurance, it's a lot to go on with that, not thinking or whatever. So again, I'm not saying that they should be dead, but then the other side of me, see, this is where I'm gonna get in trouble, is maybe they should be. And I say that in the most loving way possible if I can, is because if that's the things that you're doing, then maybe you should be out of here so that you don't cost somebody else their life that they was not trying to give. You know what I mean? But yeah, we got to get to a point in society to where we can snap. I always used to use this term with my children. I have one biological, 3 of my brothers that I raised. And even my other nieces and nephews, they'll tell you, I snatch a knot in you. Because that means I'm not playing with you, okay? I don't care what you like. I didn't ask you what you like. You're going to do what I say do. Even to this day, I got younger nieces and nephews. Button your lip. I didn't ask for all of that. You're going to do as I say do. All right. Yes, Tia. Yes, because that's what at the end of the day, I'm still an adult and I'm still your elder. I don't care how old you get, I'm still going to be your elder. Now, of course, we got a great relationship and all that other stuff. But the point that I'm making is we should always be to the point where your mama, Donovan, I know your mama get on your nerves as my mama got on my nerves, but I'm sure she had to, hey, because that's what my mom used to do. Hey.
Until today, my mom still does it.
And that's you like, okay, well, all right, you wasn't gonna be, you don't tell me.
I don't argue with my mom ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, because she could be wrong as the day is long, and most of the time they were wrong. But then it's like, okay, all right, mom. Yes, mom. Okay, mom. All right, mom. These kids nowadays, I'm not telling me, man, the way I would do a flying lotus on a mofo for talking back, man, you can ask all my kids, they got stories. Oh, yeah, she don't play. They got stories.
See, and that's how I am with my son. People think, oh, Donovan, you're so hard on your sons. Yeah, because I have a vested interest in my sons being successful. My sons know dad does not play, period. You might not like it, and they're grown men now. You might not like what I say, but the fact of the matter, I'm going to say it, and you're going to listen.
Period. And that's why I said on to Donovan, I don't know how these adults learn how to argue with kids. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to argue with kids. Well, why don't you just do it this and listen? And everybody know me, especially my kids, my niece and nephews. I'm not gonna repeat myself because I don't like to. I don't like to repeat myself. I don't care if you are in your goddamn own 30s. I don't like to repeat myself. And guess what? All of them call me to this day. Oh, D, D. They all call me different things. I need help with this and this, that, and we good because they know I love them. Anything I've ever done. Now I will tell you, I got some nieces and nephews. They a little bit on spoil side, and they would say you were always so mean, and I wasn't mean. I said, man, and my daughter and all the other ones that Ray said, if she never called you a mother effer, that means she didn't love you. And I call you a mother effer in love, whatever the case is. And so those children that belong to one of my brothers, and my brother was like, well, you could be too harsh. I said, why wasn't it too harsh for the other kids? Why is it just those? Huh? Why I got to, put on kid gloves with them? And I'm like, and now you wonder.
Now, let me ask you this real quick before we get out of here. You are the matriarch of your family, right? So you do hold a title and a role within your family, especially for the females in your family.
Yeah, and those kids know there's nothing I won't do for you. I'll jump on a plane, a train, an automobile, and I will do what I need to do. If you in a bad way, I will, help you financially. They know it's nothing I won't do for them. I don't even consider them like they're my niece and nephews, but they're like my children, because I'm, like you said, I'm vested in not just my daughter, but I'm vested in them as well. In them being good human beings. But what was cultivated in them by me is there's things you will and will not do. I'll give you a perfect example. When we would go to church, and we about to get out here, we go to church. I wouldn't dress, you don't dress sexy at church, but I like to be a pencil skirt. Anybody knows me? No, I like a pencil skirt. It wasn't sexy, but it was a pencil skirt, nothing major. Well, my niece, yeah, right. And my niece, she was like, she wanted a pencil skirt. And she was like, I think ninth grade or whatever. I said, oh, boo, you can't do what auntie do. You can't do what auntie do. You go to you get you a nice little frilly dress or something cute, modest, or whatever the case is. But no, ma'am. You wait till you get grown, you can wear you a pencil skirt, right? So that's what I was on. You ain't gonna be able to do what the grown women do. Pencil skirt is grown woman stuff, right? At the time, she was like, well, yeah. But when she got older, she understood that. My daughter, when she was in 8th grade, she wanted a shirt with a bunch of sequins. It wasn't like a grown-up shirt, but I'm like, you're in 8th grade. You don't need to go looking like the disco wall. Back then she was like, oh, there's nothing wrong with the shirt. Everybody else is wearing the shirt. As she got older, she said, well, I don't see nothing wrong with the shirt, but I get it. I want you to hover in a child's place until said time. So we got to get back to a point where we're raising our children to be appropriate so they can be appropriate adults.
Right. And then we also got to get back into the roles that we play within a family. Like I brought up the fact that you are the matriarch of your family, because let's face it, you have brothers, right? And unfortunately, as men, we don't always date or marry the right women to have children with, right? So if I pick a 304 and I happen to have a children with the 304, and it does happen in the real world, right? And I have a daughter with that 304. If I subject my daughter only to what the 304 knows, I'm not going to have a good daughter. So I need my daughter to go look at a Demetra, Kaye, or a matriarch in my family, and to give her a chance other than this life, to see this life, say, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you can do this. In our community, we have gotten away from that so much. And again, I put a lot of emphasis on the women for the simple fact that the women is the central of the community. They are the standard of the community. They are the first teachers. And it's unfortunate that a lot of our older women are competing with the younger women, and they're only teaching what the younger woman would have learned anyway on her own being a young person. So we need to get back to having these matriarchs in these families, you know, the Felicia Rashads, the Demetra Kays, these women that would stand on business and say, no, this is how you conduct yourself. A good point is this. What is the point of breaking the glass ceiling, ladies, if you're going to do what the man tells you anyway? What's the point? Think about that. Think about that. You know, what's the point of, oh, I'm going to break the glass ceiling and then a man's going to tell you what to do anyway? What's the point?
Right. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's a tragedy that happened. But natural selection will basically get you on out of here when you do some foolish stuff, you know. And like I said, RIP to those ladies. But if that's the type of stuff you were doing, it's good that you went and you took only you with you. Because eventually, if you would have survived that night, you would have did it again, and you would have took other people with you. And I would not be able to, have any sympathy more than I have now for you if you would have taken out other people who didn't deserve that because you're a fool, you know. And again, I'm not trying to disparage the dead, but you are a fool in life and you are a fool in death. And again, somebody else is going to have to pay for that because they probably didn't have their affairs in order. I couldn't imagine you had anything to lose if you're out there drinking and driving, and on the phone and all that. You didn't have much to lose. And now you're going to cost somebody else something because they got to figure out a way to have 3 funerals, maybe 4 if the other girl don't survive. And funerals aren't cheap, So I don't know. We just got to raise a better generation of children.
God forbid if those women had children. Now you've left those children without a mother, and all this stuff like that.
I will forever see the video of their mamas, riding out, drinking and driving.
Yeah. And always remember this. And like I said, you guys, natural selection is going to do what it's going to do. Always remember when you're in a Jeep or a SUV, it is a top heavy vehicle. When you go past, I think about 80, 90 miles an hour, and you try to turn that thing, it's going to roll. So just information.
Why would you going 116 miles an hour? You would have in Indy 500? Like, what are you doing here? So anyway, RIP to those ladies. But as I said too, y'all could be mad at me if you want to. RIP to them. But thank God they took themselves out and nobody else. So they won't ever have to be a burden to nobody else. And I know that sounds cold, but I'm past the point of being lukewarm, as it tells you not to do in the Bible. They won't burden anybody else, potentially take somebody else's life because they were fools. Anyway, love and appreciate y'all. We'll be back in just a little bit with our live show. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, peace.